What if I told you that the people who are, quote unquote, wasting time, the ones staring out windows, having these meandering, totally pointless conversations, are actually the ones keeping our civilization from collapsing?
I mean, it sounds completely counterintuitive,
Right.
especially today.
Right. Like highly inefficient behavior is saving us.
Exactly. Because we're currently engineering our lives for, well, maximum smoothness. We just assume that a perfectly optimized, friction-free existence is the ultimate goal.
Yeah. The dream of progress.
Right. But we rarely stop to examine what we're accidentally destroying in that pursuit.
And that is exactly what we're exploring today on this deep dive. We're looking at a really fascinating stack of sources from a framework known as reflective humanism.
It's some dense stuff, but really, really profound.
For sure.
Yeah.
Specifically, we've got structural observation nodes titled No81 and some operational frameworks called Core Fields v1.4 and MCP v1.2.
Yeah, and for those who aren't familiar, these aren't, your typical tech manifestos.
No, not at all. They're deep systemic analyses of how modern civilization functions and, more importantly, how it might quietly freeze solid.
Freeze solid. That's the perfect way to put it.
So our mission today is to step back with you and engage in this calm, intellectual co-observation. We're going to unpack why our reality is becoming what these texts call fixed.
Which is a really specific term in this context.
Right. And why the things we try so hard to eliminate, like noise, friction, inefficiency, might actually be the vital infrastructure keeping society alive.
And just to set the tone for you as we get into this, our goal today isn't to, debate or decide what's right or wrong.
Yeah, no hot takes here.
Exactly. We are not here to fall into some simplistic, alarmist narrative about how social media is evil or AI is ruining humanity. Technology isn't the enemy.
Right. We're zooming out way further than that.
We want to quietly explore a much deeper structural question, like what actually happens when a civilization loses its interference?
Interference. I love that word for this.
Yeah, what are the mechanics behind a society where all the messy, overlapping, unpredictable waves of human experience are forced into one perfectly synchronized flatline?
And here's where it gets really interesting. Because if you look at what modern society values most right now, there is this massive, undeniable trend toward rapid rectification.
Oh, everywhere. It's inescapable.
We want sure words. We want instant reactions, clear binary stances on incredibly complex issues, and above all, we want high-speed synchronization.
Right. The algorithm learns what you like, identifies your tribe, and instantly syncs you up with identical viewpoints.
Exactly. The whole mechanism is built around reducing differences so we can process information faster.
And what's fascinating here is the hidden structural cost of that exact rectification.
The cost we don't see.
Right. The reflective humanism texts point out that when we aggressively reduce differences to strengthen this synchronization, we begin to lose something called fluctuation.
Fluctuation. Let's define that.
So, in physics, a fluctuation is just a small, random deviation from a baseline average. But in a societal context, fluctuation is local noise.
Okay.
It's the messy, unoptimized space where people casually disagree, where interactions don't quite fit together perfectly. It's where ambiguity lives.
And as our algorithms optimize, that fluctuation is just being systematically eradicated.
Erased completely.
Yeah. Okay, let's unpack this a bit, because I have to push back a little here.
Sure, go ahead.
My immediate reaction, and I think what most of us are taught from day one, is that noise is inherently a bad thing.
It's an error.
Right. If I'm trying to listen to something, I want the static gone. Or, in a practical sense, if I'm an air traffic controller or a surgeon in an ER, I want zero noise.
Absolutely. You want perfect, rigid synchronization.
Exactly. So isn't this idea of preserving fluctuation noise just a luxury for philosophers? Why shouldn't we want a perfectly synchronized society?
Well, that is the exact assumption the source text challenges. And it's a crucial distinction. In a closed, purely mechanical system, like an airplane engine or an isolated surgery, yes, you want zero noise.
You definitely do.
But a civilization is not a closed mechanical system. It's a complex, living ecosystem. If we want a metaphor, think of a forest fire.
Okay, I'm with you. A forest fire.
If you manage a forest like a perfectly synchronized machine, you suppress every single small brush fire immediately. You mandate perfect stability.
Right. No fires allowed at all.
But by doing that, you allow deadwood to build up everywhere. So eventually a fire starts that you can't suppress. And because the system is so rigidly packed with fuel, the entire forest burns to the ground.
Oh, wow. A catastrophic collapse.
Exactly. The small, messy, noisy brush fires are the fluctuations. They clear out the deadwood. They're necessary friction.
So the noise isn't an error.
Right. In this framework, noise is defined not as an error to be deleted, but as unsynchronized possibility.
Unsynchronized possibility. I love that phrase.
It really shifts how you see the world, doesn't it?
It does. So by eliminating the small frictions, we're actually setting ourselves up for a massive system failure.
Precisely. Noise provides a margin for reinterpretation. It allows for local, low-stakes differences to exist without threatening the whole system.
And when our digital and social systems perfectly synchronize us, they eliminate that margin.
Yes, they eliminate what the text calls unfixed states. Unfixed states are the raw materials necessary to discover alternative paths. If you don't have them, you are locked into a single trajectory.
But what does that lock-in actually look like in our day-to-day lives?
Well, think about how people interact online right now.
Yeah, the sources highlight a really profound consequence of this. In a hyper-synchronized world, it becomes mechanically and socially incredibly difficult to change your mind.
Almost impossible.
It becomes harder to repair a broken relationship or to accept an alternative interpretation of an event. You're either perfectly aligned with your network or you're just cast out.
Exactly. And let's look at the why behind that. Why is it so hard to change your mind today? It's not just a sudden psychological failing on our part.
Right, we didn't just all suddenly become stubborn.
Exactly. It's because the algorithms that facilitate our social interaction optimize for engagement by creating fixed evaluations. They reward absolute certainty and penalize nuance.
And the text describes this as a loss of civilizational phase fluidity.
Yes, phase fluidity.
Meaning like phases of matter, like solid, liquid, gas.
Yeah, or phases of a wave.
Right.
When phase differences become invisible because we forced everyone into algorithmic sync, reality becomes fixed onto a single track.
You literally lose the ability to shift into a different state of understanding.
Right, and when society forces you onto that single rigid track, you inevitably experience something the core field's text identifies as transparent pain.
Transparent pain. I was reading that section of the notes, and it really struck a chord with me.
It's a very evocative term.
I had a moment just yesterday that I think perfectly illustrates this. I was using my GPS to drive to a meeting, and the app confidently told me the route would take exactly 12 minutes.
A perfectly synchronized linear projection.
Exactly. But halfway there, I hit a completely unmapped construction zone. And I didn't just feel mildly annoyed, I felt this bizarre sense of personal betrayal.
Like reality broke a promise to you.
Yes, my synchronized app promised me a frictionless, optimized experience, and reality violently disagreed.
That is a perfect micro-level example of transparent pain. It's the friction that occurs when our internal linear cognitive operating system, which has been trained by algorithms to expect instant results, crashes against the nonlinear, unpredictable gradients of the outside physical world.
The world is complex, it's messy.
But our synchronized systems demand that it be simple. When those two realities collide, it generates a very specific type of psychological pain.
And what I found fascinating is how the core field's text breaks down the actual mechanics of how we process that pain.
Yeah, the two modes of generation.
Right, which is essentially how we update our understanding of reality.
And those two modes dictate whether a society adapts or, well, fractures.
So the first mode is called collision, or discontinuous generation. If I'm understanding the text correctly, this happens when the difference between our rigid internal belief and the messy outside world is just too steep.
The gradient is a cliff.
Exactly. Because we've been forced into a state of absolute certainty, a fixed evaluation, any new information that contradicts us doesn't just gently modify our worldview.
It collides with it.
It forces a complete discontinuous rupture, it generates heat, it causes social friction, and we experience it as a painful shock to the system. We're essentially forced to jump from one reality to another, and it just hurts.
And if we connect this to the bigger picture, you can see why modern discourse feels so exhausting.
Oh man, it really does.
We are currently trapped in this collision mode on a societal level. Our media, our digital platforms, our workplaces, they all demand fixed, rigid evaluations.
A concept or a person is either entirely good or entirely bad, completely efficient or entirely useless.
Right. So when the real world inevitably proves that fixed evaluation to be incomplete, our institutions don't adapt smoothly, they just crash.
Which brings us to the alternative mode the text presents, inquiry or continuous generation.
The healthier option.
Right. Instead of locking onto a fixed evaluation and waiting for a collision, inquiry keeps the interference field open. You maintain an unfixed state. You allow the gradient to be gentle.
This is a vital concept. The text explicitly refers to inquiry as a pain minimization device for generation.
A pain minimization device.
Yeah, it's a cognitive stance that allows our internal reality to update continuously without the violent friction. You aren't desperately defending a fixed point, you're just staying open to the question.
So what does this all mean for the actual survival of our civilization? Because if we're losing the capacity for inquiry, if we're structurally trapped in collision mode, we really have to redefine what stability means.
We absolutely do.
I think most of us assume that a highly synchronized, unified society where everyone agrees and everything runs on time is the definition of stability.
But the reflective humanism notes suggest the exact opposite.
They do. And it introduces a truly chilling thought.
Yeah, that a civilization's crisis might not manifest as a sudden, explosive, Hollywood-style collapse.
Right, we always picture the end of the world as this massive, dramatic event.
But the text suggests that society might first simply become fixed.
It just freezes solid.
Exactly. A perfectly synchronized system is actually incredibly brittle. It has lost what the framework calls its margin to return.
Margin to return.
Yeah. In a highly optimized system, if you make a mistake or if the environment suddenly changes, the system cannot adapt because there's no noise, there's no slack, there's no alternative phase to shift into.
And the authors aren't just speaking metaphorically here. They get incredibly specific about the structural threat in the MCP v1.2 notes.
Yeah, they outline 3 actual metrics.
Almost like vital signs for a society, tracking this decline. You have FQ, which is fluctuation density, then S, which is fluctuation sustainability, and finally PF, the phase fluidity index.
And we need to translate those into what they look like on the ground for everyday life.
Yeah, let's unpack those.
So fluctuation density, or FQ, is essentially a measure of how many unstructured, messy, unsynchronized interactions happen in a society daily. Like, how often do you interact with someone wildly different from you without an algorithm mediating it?
Probably not very often anymore.
Right. Then fluctuation sustainability, Fs, is the tolerance for unresolved tension.
Okay.
How long can a disagreement or an ambiguous situation exist in the culture without someone demanding an instant binary resolution?
Yeah. We have zero tolerance for that right now.
Exactly. And phase fluidity, PF, is the society's capacity to gracefully shift gears when the current paradigm just stops working.
And the argument is that right now, all 3 of these metrics are plummeting. We're engineering the density out of our interactions. We have zero tolerance for unresolved tension, and our systems are just too rigid to shift gears.
And when those indexes drop to near 0, you have a society that is entirely rigid. It looks incredibly stable on paper, but it's functionally dead.
This is where the framework introduces the concept of liquid stability.
Yes.
Which I found to be such a profound reframing of how we should be living. True societal health doesn't mean being perfectly locked in. It means remaining fluid without collapsing. In the text, they use the contrast of glass and water.
It's a brilliant way to conceptualize the mechanics of resilience.
Think about glass. Glass is completely rigid. It has zero fluctuation.
Right.
It seems perfectly stable. And it can hold its shape indefinitely under normal conditions. But if you hit it with enough unexpected force, like a black swan event, a global pandemic, a massive economic shift, it doesn't bend.
It shatters.
It just shatters completely into a million pieces. But water operates on liquid stability. If you strike a body of water, it doesn't shatter. It absorbs the kinetic energy.
The waves ripple out.
Exactly, which is literally fluctuation and interference. And then it seamlessly reshapes itself around the disruption. We're currently trying to build a glass civilization when we desperately need to be building a water civilization.
And this raises an important question, right? If liquid stability is the goal, how do we practically maintain it?
How do we do it?
Well, if we accept this premise, we have to completely reinterpret the things modern society tells us are useless. The text states that to preserve this civilizational fluidity, we desperately need spare capacity, margins, slack.
The exact things my calendar app tells me I need to optimize away.
Precisely. We are culturally conditioned to view inefficiency as a failure, but the reflective humanism texts argue the exact opposite.
That's wild.
Care, silence, inefficiency, dialogue, unstructured time, these aren't simply human kindnesses. They aren't a reward you only get to enjoy once all the real work is done.
They're the infrastructure.
Yes. They are the vital, load-bearing infrastructure of a surviving civilization.
Let's make this really concrete for you, the listener. Think about a standard everyday interaction. Say you go to a local coffee shop.
Okay, good example.
And instead of just mobile ordering and grabbing your cup from a counter in complete silence,
Hmm.
you end up in a 10-minute meandering conversation with the barista about the weather or, I don't know, a weird dream they had.
Right. In the eyes of an optimization algorithm, that 10 minutes is pure friction.
Highly inefficient.
It's a highly inefficient transaction. You quote unquote wasted time.
But according to this framework, what you actually did was generate a micro-fluctuation.
Exactly. You engaged in continuous generation. You built a tiny strand of community trust that has no immediate utilitarian value, but acts as a buffer, as liquid stability, when a crisis eventually hits that neighborhood.
That 10 minutes of inefficiency is the exact mechanism that prevents the societal glass from shattering.
Which forces us to radically rethink the tools we're building, especially artificial intelligence.
Right, because AI is the ultimate optimizer right now.
Exactly. But the Reflective Humanism Project has a very specific and frankly beautiful vision for AI in this context. Right now, the tech industry is building AI entirely as an optimization engine. We want an oracle that feeds us the correct answer instantly, eliminating all cognitive friction.
We just want it to do the work so we don't have to think.
But the text proposes that AI should instead operate in what it calls a health scan mode. It envisions an AI that functions more like an atmosphere than an oracle.
Okay, wait. Gotta stop you there. How does a piece of software operate as an atmosphere? What is the mechanism there?
Think of it this way. Instead of an AI that immediately auto-completes your thoughts and validates your existing worldview, an atmospheric AI introduces a slight intentional friction.
Intentional friction.
Yeah. If you ask it a complex social or ethical question, it doesn't just spit out a binary fixed evaluation. It might delay a response. It might reflect your own cognitive biases back to you.
Oh, interesting.
It asks a clarifying question that forces you to pause. It doesn't intervene to fix you or force you into alignment with the algorithm. It just provides a clear mirror to help you maintain what the text calls cognitive homeostasis.
So it's practicing the ethics of distance. It touches us without touching too much.
Yes.
It preserves the silence and the space we need to process things ourselves, rather than collapsing the wave of possibility into a single predetermined answer.
AI, in this ideal state, becomes a technology that generates the space for silence and reflection, rather than a tool that aggressively fills every void with optimized, synchronized information.
It's so completely counterintuitive to how we live and work today. But the mechanics of it make so much sense when you zoom out.
It really does.
Let's briefly recap the journey we've just been on because we've covered some dense, paradigm-shifting ground today.
We really have.
We started by looking at our modern obsession with high-speed synchronization, this relentless desire to rectify everything instantly and eliminate all the noise from our lives.
But we discovered that the noise is actually unsynchronized possibility.
Right. By algorithmically suppressing the small fires, by eliminating the unfixed states and the natural fluctuations of human interaction, we've created a fixed, brittle reality.
We really have.
We've built a society where changing our minds or navigating ambiguity causes transparent pain because we're constantly colliding with a complex world we expect to be simple. We have traded the messy, adaptable resilience of water for the fragile, synchronized perfection of glass.
And the way we survive, the way we return to liquid stability, is by recognizing that the things we've labeled as useless are actually essential.
Yes, silence, care, inefficiency, the margin for error, these are not wastes of time.
They're the infrastructures of inquiry. They're the spaces where society breathes and reshapes itself.
This raises one final, profound thought, directly inspired by the closing notes of the Reflective Humanism texts. And it's something for you to sit with as you go about the rest of your week. We blindly assume that getting everyone on the exact same page, moving at the exact same high speed, is the ultimate triumph of human progress. But does civilization truly need perfect synchronization?
Or is the messy, inefficient friction of our differences the very heartbeat that keeps it alive?
It's a question worth leaving open, a space of unsynchronized possibility.
Absolutely.
The next time you find yourself feeling guilty because you're being quote-unquote inefficient, or because you took a long, meandering pause in a conversation, or because you chose to just sit and stare out a window instead of immediately reacting to a notification, I want you to remember this deep dive.
Remember, you're doing the work.
Ask yourself if you aren't actually doing the vital, necessary work of keeping our reality from freezing solid. Thank you for joining us as we unpack this incredible source material. We'll leave you to enjoy a little bit of noise and a lot of liquid stability.